Ruvik. It is you.
Ah!
Leslie!
Who the hell are you?
No! Don't follow!
Hello everybody, this is Tom from the UBR, and welcome to the unbiased review of The Evil Within. From Bethesda Softworks, and releasing only a few weeks ago, The Evil Within is a horror game that attempts to take the horror genre back to its roots. You know, when it was actually horror. The game follows Sebastian as he and his team go to investigate a mental hospital where a series of murders took place. Then, when an evil supernatural creature called Ruvik chases them to the right place, he locks them in there and makes them try to find their way out of the woods he locked them in. Place to place, you get further and further to getting out and meeting memorable creatures along the way. However, not memorable characters. Despite how vicious these creatures are, all this being said, the story's just at a disadvantage. Who hasn't heard the story of the man stranded with a supernatural creature in an insane asylum? A lot. Plus two, Sebastian's personality is as rich in charisma as cardboard is tasty. What's that mean? Cardboard isn't tasty? Then Sebastian's personality is completely flat. Now, the gameplay. I really liked the UI, or user interface. I liked the way it was set up. There barely was one. This makes you sometimes forget your current health level, or its greatest use is just immersing you into the experience the game creates around you. The minimal UI amplifies the mood, which, albeit, is just flat out creepy. The guns have very little ammo, which I saw as a good thing, and the ways to take out zombies or Hagraven or the ominous chainsaw safe-wielding masked man, yeah, he was pretty vicious. That reminds me, this game does have a learning curve. Most of the first 3 phases will be spent watching the red failure screen a lot more than you playing the game. But, it is kinda cheap. But goddamn they were cheap! I can remember a time when I was going perfect stealth Rambo, and dropping bodies, I was in a shack, I hear a beeping noise, and I turn the camera. I see a bomb, and turn to run, but not quick enough. Soon enough, my entrails decorated the room like tinsel on a Christmas tree. Multiple times. But eventually you'll get the hang of the controls and game mechanics, and it's pretty fun, although it's anything but easy. The game has lots of moments where you go up to fight a boss, and you only have 1 harpoon and 6 bullets in the revolver chamber, and you just think, well, shit. But the way that the developers designed the game was so that victory always felt so far away, but if you achieve it, it feels good. But this reminds me, explosive bolts and harpoons. The game has a cool bow called the Bow of Agony. It can launch multiple types of projectiles, and I came across about 5 in my travels. For example, freezing a zombie's solid so you can sucker punch him, or stick a stealthy knife jab right in the back of his skull. Or need I explain the harpoon and explosive bolts? And the coolest thing is, you don't even need to find these in the environment. They are there, but provided you have a decent eye, you can spot blinking bombs and creep up on them and disable them, not in front of them like I did. Or tripwires and disable them. Or bear trap. When you disable any of the aforementioned traps, you get gear points, and you can put them towards crafting bows. Not bows, arrows. Now, don't go thinking that these bits of gears are abundant, because they aren't. Plus 2, you don't get much off of a trap, and once you have the ammo, it does go pretty fast. The game also features a very good progression system. If you stare into a cracked mirror, you go into the depths of your own mind, where you're trying to solve this murder case in a police station / insane asylum. If you walk into a certain room, you can get tied down to a chair, and have needles poked through your brain, and through this you get upgrades. Don't question the science. The way you get these upgrades is by finding green gel in the environment. It has a limited quantity resource, though with a lot of scavenging, it's possible to make its full progression. These upgrades unlocked by the goop could provide your accuracy with a pistol, and they could make you sprint for longer. It could give you crit chance with a sniper rifle, or the amount of agony bolts you can carry per type. It's truly in-depth, and every little upgrade feels huge compared to the other RPGs out there. Now, the environment / enemies. Okay, the environment is bland. I know that it does its job as a haunted asylum courtyard forest, but that's the thing. It feels unoriginal. The blood on the walls wouldn't creep me out, it's just they put a mood of anxiety into me. The walls all look the same, and the game suffers a lot of pop-ins. I will cut it some slack since it's a cross-gen game. It just lacks that Bethesda quality that is present in most of their licensed titles. In fact, I got this game riding on the name of Bethesda alone. It doesn't have the collectibles other than keys, and doesn't have little Easter eggs and details about the world or things that a secret hunter can find. By the enemies, by God, they make the game. I wouldn't be surprised if people cosplay this game for the next 5 years, because Jesus Christ, it's scary. So the initial zombies aren't too bad, with poles sticking out their eyes and barbed wire cutting into their skin, but the deeper you delve into this plot, the more it stops being a spooky, scary skeleton story, and the more it becomes a Japanese horror hentai wannabe. I don't think I'll ever recover from the Hag Ravens, or whatever the hell they're called. But as with any other Japanese hentai horror wannabe game, there's excessive gore. It's fun, dude. It's fun to do it to zombies, but goddamn, it's frustrating when a Hag Raven scratches the flesh off my face. My point is that the thing that makes the game memorable is hands down the enemies and their NPC actions. The only enemies that truly pissed me off were the invisible enemies. How you had to track them through the few puddles in the game, and it was hard for me to stealth something I couldn't see, so I wound up dumping all my ammo into the air trying to find it. But that's besides the point. Now, a fault that I found was that the soundtrack is extremely lacking, as I've seen so much better from a Bethesda game in the past. Even though I know that this was made by Tango Gameworks, it's expected to have the quality of a licensed game from Bethesda. Once again, though, the graphics and pop-ins have some really bad hiccups at times, not to mention that the main character is, well, he's not very interesting. Now, my conclusion. In a game that centers around immersion, there's a reason I'm being so anal about things like pop-ins. If it were anything but a horror game, some of this stuff would get a free pass. But The Evil Within isn't a game, it's an experience, and the more the game reminds you the Japanese monster-filled ultra-violence hentai wannabe world isn't real, the more you stop playing the game like it is real. Every one of the enemy archetypes will stick in my head, and the presentation of the game, it was damn near flawless. The character of Sebastian is a dull excuse for what could have been intriguing, and the story is ultimately nonsensical and disappointing. I mean, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch this story again, but like I said, you don't play The Evil Within for its story. You play The Evil Within for that moment where you're low on ammo and you have to fight a boss, or that moment when you're stealthing zombies perfectly and then you gotta go Rambo and struggle to fist fight. That moment when you beat the level and lose the self-control to go to bed when you should, and instead you just hit the next level button. You play The Evil Within for those genuinely amazing moments where it's hard to put the controller down. And once you realize that what the game gets right is damn near perfect, it's a lot easier not to be harsh on the developers for the faults the game has. I was sad to see Sebastian's story come to an end, despite how interesting paint drying really is, because I wish I had more time to feel that feeling of the game possessing me. This game isn't a game that utilizes jump scares. It's a game that actually puts the fear of God into you. You have anxiety, and that thought of, dear God, I hope my bullet doesn't miss. The fact that this environment was so solid, and the experience and the gameplay, it earns The Evil Within by Bethesda Studios and Tango Softworks an 8.5 out of 10, and I highly recommend it to anybody that wants to lose sleep and get lost in the world once again that the masters of Bethesda have delivered to gamers. Thanks everybody, this is Tom from the UBR, and everybody have a good day.